everyone, welcome to another video. It's been a while. How are you all? Hope you've been having a good autumn so far. Better than me. As you may have guessed from the lack of uploads, it's been an interesting couple of months. The kind of too long didn't read is I got sick, I got the flu, which I think I just need to expect to happen in October every year because that is what happens. So that happened. Once I recovered from the flu, I had quite a bad anxiety time, which I'm still kind of in, just coming out of it now, but when I get anxious, it is very difficult for me to film or really talk. Like, yeah, I guess autistic overwhelm kind of kicks in and the idea of just like sitting and talking becomes very difficult. And I basically go into a phase where I just don't really want to be perceived by anyone. And that includes, people on the internet. So yeah, that made me kind of not post for a while. And then construction noises happened. We have had to have some repairs done to our house. Long story short, bathroom wall collapsed because the builders of the house made a shower wall with non-waterproof materials in their infinite wisdom. Anyway, I'm back now. I'm feeling much better and I'm here today to talk about my journal system for 2025. Immediately do want to flag, this is a 2024 cousin. I know that. But I will be using the Hobonichi Cousin in 2025. I've got this book here just so I can give you an idea of like the type of spreads I'll be doing, because obviously the 2025 one is blank. This one is not. So yeah, I figured I'd take you through my system today. It's kind of got two main books which are here, and then a couple of like supplementary books that I'll use every now and again that I'll show you towards the end of the video. I say every now and again, I'll probably use them like every day for work, but I won't show them on the channel and they're not like part of my journal system. They're more just like extra notebooks for planning. Anyway, let's get into it. So, two books here. One is the Hobonichi Cousin. The other is a Hobonichi notebook, A5. It is the Denali in the Midnight Sun cover, which is just stunning. I look at this every time and I'm like, oh, take me to the mountains. Let's go through the Cousin first and how I'll be using that, and then I'll talk a bit about how I'm using this. So, I have got some little sticky tabs to remind me which pages to turn to here. First elephant in the room to address is that earlier in the year, I made a big long video about why the Hobonichi Cousin wasn't working for me. And at the time it wasn't. I just wasn't vibing with it. However, the Fudenosuke kicked in this autumn. I thought, why not give it another try? And the thing is, I really do love these books. They're so beautiful. The aesthetic is just right up my street. I love the accountability of having a page per day. I really did want to make it work. And I realised that one of the reasons it didn't work before is because I was just being way too hard on myself and setting way too strict expectations for myself. I was forcing myself to fill every single page in a really consistent way. And that's just not realistic. There are going to be days in my life where I just don't want to write. And I had this real mental block in my head of oh, but I can't leave a page blank. But I have got over that mental block, I'm happy to say, which means the Cousin now is working really, really well for me. I love all of its different spreads. I love the aesthetic, as I've said. And I love the idea that at the end of each year, I'm going to have this big archive of everything that happened to me. It's going to be great. I've been using this for a couple of months now, this 2024 edition. I'm kind of backfilling all the other months with, journaling about what happened this year and just some journal prompts and stuff. So it will be a full book by the end. But yeah, I've been having a great time. I've been really enjoying myself. I feel like my creative practice has kind of come back. I feel excited to write in this every day or most days. And I'm feeling confident that this is the best main book for me going forward. All right, disclaimer out of the way. Let's talk about how I'm actually using it. I'm going to skip over the yearly page, the yearly overview page, which I think is here. Yeah, because as you can see, I don't really know what to do with that right now. I've got some ideas, but I might just not use it. It's not particularly helpful to me. I've tried tracking various things and then messed up things and then just gave up. So yeah, we're just going to gloss over that. That does not exist for me. Instead, we will go straight to the monthly. I've opened to the wrong page. That is blank. We'll go straight to the monthly. Second time lucky. And I'm planning to just use this to keep track of the main events of the month, whether that's events in my own life, so I've got some social plans in here, or just events in the world. There was a big one this month in America, Not gonna go too much into it before I go on a massive rant, but I think you can gather my thoughts from the sad face emoji there. Anyway, yeah, tracking kind of main plans and events. November's been quite a chill month for me, which is great. I've really needed it after, you know, all the stuff I talked about at the start. But yeah, I quite like that it is quite minimalistic. And in other months, it might be a bit more busy. But yeah, this month, it's fairly sparse, and that is good. So I'm using a kit. I will be using kits in 2025 as well. I am using the Coffee Monsters Co., the kind of like cousin monthly kits. I just think they're really cute. Love the colour schemes. I loved the 2024 theme of the flowers. I actually bought a spare one just in case in like a future year I want to use it again because it's so nice. It comes with just like so many different little icons that I've been using, like for celebrations. I did get Thanksgiving wrong. Well, no, I didn't get it wrong. I knew it was on Thursday, but for some reason I just wrote it in the Friday. Just, yeah, why not? We've got these little like heart bubbles and like exclamation bubbles, and I tend to use those pretty liberally just as like events. And then I'm using like the dots that come with it to kind of just like write down some highlights of the month. And I'm doing this as I go. So yeah, it's coming together really nicely, I think, anyway. For me, I just like having this overview of the main stuff that happened. I am also experimenting with tracking some stuff in here. Like you can see I tracked a walk on that day, and I did do more walks that week that I then just forgot to put in here. I don't know if I'll continue tracking that here. I think I might do it in the weeklies instead, but I gave it a go. And I'm using the tiny icons for that tracking, again from the Coffee Monsters Co. One thing I will keep tracking in here is my cycle. As a uterus having person, it really influences my life. So yeah, thought I'd track that in here, again with a nice tiny icon. So yeah, that's how I'll be using the monthlies, just as a calendar. Revolutionary, I know. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's cute, and it's also training me out of my habit of everything having to be maximalist and every blank space having to be filled, because that was not good for me, as discussed. So yeah, I like having a bit more of a laid back spread. Also, just to set expectations going forward, these kits are going to be stuck in, like, imperfectly. I really struggle with fine motor skills. Yay for that autistic trait of mine. And it means, yeah, I just really struggle with sticking down, like, finicky small things in the right way. So like you can see here, this Friday has a bit of a gap there. And you know what? That is fine, because planners do not have to be perfect. Another thing that I have learned this year, it is okay for everything to just be a little bit chaotic. Expect even more chaos going forward. What a selling point for this channel that is. All right, I think that's about everything I have to say about the monthly page. So let's skip to the weeklies. And this time I'm going to try and skip to the right one. Here we go. So weeklies, I am using these as time blocking, but also just like very light memory keeping of major stuff that happened that day. So yeah, there's a lot going on here. This is where I've not become more minimalist, if we're being honest. Let me see, where do I even start? So let's start left-hand sidebar. In fact, no, before I start, I'm going to credit the people who inspired me to kind of have this kind of setup. One is Helen from the Coffee Monsters Co. You'll see a lot of this is very similar to how she lays out her weekly spreads, although I think I go a bit more heavy on the text. Again, not so good at minimalism. And also Theory of Lauren. She is a big inspo for my weeklies, and I'm thinking I might start using her kind of like boxing system. Like she literally draws boxes, and I would like to give that a go. It appeals to me. So yeah, maybe in future weeklies I'll try that instead of just drawing a line. So those are my big weekly spread inspos. Shout out to Helen and Lauren, you're great. So now that the credit has been given where it is due, let me start with the sidebar. So habits. I'm going to be tracking habits. I don't know if I'm going to keep tracking as many as I am here. Some things I'm going to consistently track are if I come off work on time, because I am not so great at that. I overwork a lot. And when you work remotely, it's very easy to overwork because it's not like you have that, oh, I'm leaving the office at the end of the day thing that kind of sometimes helps with work-life balance. I just work in here at this exact desk that I'm at right now. So yeah, I'm not so great at having boundaries. I overwork myself, say yes to everything, and it's not good for me. So I'm trying to get better at that and come off at like 6 p.m. I kind of tend to work 10 till 6 rather than 9 till 5 just because of time zones and stuff with the people I work with. So yeah, that's me tracking how often I did that. You can see that did not go well. that week, it did not go well. This week, it has not been going well for a little while, but this coming week, it's going to be the day, the week even, it's going to be the time when I finally get that on track. I'm committing to it now. I'm also tracking how often I read, which is going fantastically, as you can see from there. I'm just in a perpetual reading slump at the moment, and I think it's because I'm overworking myself. So in the evenings, I'm too tired to read, because I have this thing in my head that I have to be like awake enough to read, otherwise I'm like wasting the book. I can't really explain that. It's just a weird anxiety thing that goes on in my head. But yeah, I would like to get back into reading because I have some really great books on my shelf that I already own that I really want to read, and I need to get past this like mental block of like, I can't read when I'm tired, or I need to start reading at times of the day when I'm not tired. So maybe like on lunch break or something. So yeah, that I will keep tracking. Here I was tracking how often I post on Instagram, but I'm trying to just like use social media a bit less because it's not great for anyone. So I'm not going to like force myself to post anymore. I'll just post when I feel like it. Just like on this channel, I'll upload when I feel like it. So I won't track that anymore. I will probably keep tracking movement. So here I have like 3 things that are kind of mutually exclusive. I would never do all 3 on the same day. One is like cardio, one is strength training, and one is having a rest day. I had a rest day every day that week. I think it's important to track rest days so that I actually encourage myself to have them, because otherwise I would feel the need to like do something every single day movement wise, and that's not always realistic for me or helpful for me. I tend to wear myself out. So I started tracking rest days as like an accountability measure to actually rest. Obviously, in this case, it went a bit too far in the other direction. But yeah, I'm going to keep tracking those. I might not track them in the sidebar here. I might do that as like a daily thing in part of the daily bit. Wow, words. But yeah, I think that's important for me to keep tracking because movement is important for my mental health, but equally I don't want to go too far the other way. So tracking my rest is also important for my mental health. A couple of other things I'm going to start tracking are screen time. I've been doing it as a graph here. I think in the future I'm going to have it as just like a static habit of like, did I use social media for like more than an hour or 2 on any given day? Maybe 2 hours is going to be the realistic goal at first. I'd love to get to a place where I was only using social media for just like a few minutes a day, if that, because yeah, I just don't think it's very good for me. I mean, obviously it has its upsides. The community that I've met on Journal, YouTube and Instagram, for example, huge upside. However, it is also just like a dopamine destroying little metal box with a screen that I just, yeah, want to minimize the impact of that on my life. So I'll be tracking that. And I'll also be tracking, did I follow my morning routine before I started work? Because I am the worst for just waking up and being like, gotta get going, gotta start work straight away, instead of like, you know, having a shower and like eating breakfast. And I do those things, to be clear. Like I do eat and shower and stuff. I just don't do it in the morning. I'll maybe like be like, oh, it's lunchtime, I guess I should shower now. And I do find that I feel better in myself if I actually do the morning routine things first thing. So yeah, I'm going to track whether or not I did that. I've got tiny icons for that. One has already arrived and it's like a little sun to represent the morning for morning routine. And then there's like a little phone one that has not arrived yet. It's in a different order. So I will use that. Here we have a couple of graphs that I was experimenting with. I'm not going to use the phone time one anymore, as mentioned. I might use the mood one though. And I have a bit of a weird like relationship with mood tracking because my mood can change throughout the day. As you can see here, I tracked 2 moods because like part of the day was fine. So I marked that, and then late at night I started feeling really bad. So I was like, well, I've got to mark that as well. So I'm thinking of switching to a system that my friend Danny recommended. Hi Danny, if you're watching. She kind of talked about how instead of grading based on mood like that, she just kind of gives the day a score out of 5. And 5 is like excellent day, would recommend. 1 is like, I never want to have another day like this in my entire life. So maybe that will be a better way of evaluating the day because it's less based on like changeable emotions and it's more just like a holistic picture of how things went. So yeah, might give that a go. Maybe that's something I could put in the yearly section. I'm thinking, I'm noodling as I talk. That's interesting. I'll have a think about that. All right, thinking time over, let's focus on making the actual video. each day, what I do is I leave a little gap at the top because, like, as you can see, there are times here I do not wake up at 5. If I ever wake up at 5, something has gone deeply wrong. I tend to wake up 7:30 to 8 time, so there's just no need for me to use that bit of the timeline. So what I do is I leave a gap and I put the song that is in my head that day, because without fail, well, most days, I'll wake up with a song in my head. I just thought it'd be cool to record what that is. Then I start with like the actual tracking of the day, and I tend to track just like blocks and what I did in that block. So for like the morning before I start work, I kind of write about how my sleep was, if I actually, got up on time, followed my routine, that kind of thing. Then the workday starts at about 10 for me, and I'll just like block out what main thing I'm doing during that particular work block. It's usually meetings in the afternoon. That is just part of my job now, which is fine. Like getting to chat to my colleagues and the people I manage. It's a lot of fun, but it does block out a lot of my day. So yeah, I've started blocking that out so I know that is coming and to kind of like prepare for that. I've been tracking when I have lunch and when I have tea, which is the northern way of saying like evening meal, just in case you don't know. I don't know if I'll keep doing that because it doesn't feel that useful to me. Although maybe, I might start tracking what I plan to have or make for tea, because one thing that has been going a bit wrong lately is instead of cooking the thing I planned, I have a stress pizza or a stress McDonald's. So maybe if I actually write down at the start of the day what I'm going to cook that night, that might be like an accountability measure to not have a takeaway. Again, I'm just like deciding things in real time here. How great for you all, I'm sure. Anyway, yeah, might not include those dividers, but I might, we'll see. And one thing I will keep doing is just writing how I spent my evenings. A lot of Stardew Valley at the moment. The 1.6 update has got me in a chokehold. I love it so much. But yeah, that's kind of how I use each column. I add little decorative stickers kind of based on whatever I'm writing about. Tend to use like maybe 1 or 2 for each day. Most of them are from the Coffee Monsters Co, but I do also really love these little stickers from Salam Creative. The brains, I just relate to the brains. I've also been using like spare bits from the monthly kits in here, because as I figured out when I did my weird experiment at the end of last year, where I turned monthlies into weeklies so that I could start the cousin sooner. I'm gonna maybe link that video in case you have no idea what I'm talking about. Anyway, I found out that like these columns are basically the same width as the monthly squares. So if something was made for the monthlies, it's gonna fit here as well. So I've been using little banners to signify either like little messages to myself or an exciting order I did that day. So yeah, I really like how this is turning out. I really like this system. It kind of gives me a nice overview of each day. It's almost like each spread zooms in a little bit more. So like the monthly is like a really zoomed out look at the major events of the month. The weekly is a slightly more zoomed in look at like the major events of each day. And then the dailies are where I zoom right in and do all my journaling, but I'm getting ahead of myself. I really like this kind of like overview of the week, and yeah, it just looks really satisfying as well. I have another completed one here that I'll show you because I really loved how this one turned out. This washi tape is from Salam Creative and I adore it. Like the foiling is beautiful, the illustrations, beautiful. But yeah, this is another example. And it's also an example of how I'm letting myself be inconsistent if I need to be. For example, I did not track habits that week because I was recovering from flu still. And like, hitting all of my habits is not my priority when I am like struggling to breathe and feeling like I've been hit by a bus. And that is okay. Just want to validate that. You don't have to be consistent every single week or day or hour or at all. If you need to rest, that is fine. All right, I think that's everything about the weeklies. So let us move to the daily pages. As I've alluded to, I'm going to use these to daily journal. Oh goodness, here we go. Let's start with November because that's when I started using this to like properly daily journal. I basically just write about whatever's on my mind that day, what I've been up to, if I've been thinking about particular things or going through particular things. I don't force myself to write a full page if I don't feel like it, as you'll see when I start flipping through. Here I only wrote half a page and then decided to just put my monthly intentions for the rest because it was the first. I have not been sticking to these, if I'm being honest, because I've been overwhelmed. But at least I've realised that and I can pivot to actually doing this stuff for the rest of the month because it's stuff that I think will benefit me. Anyway, yeah, I still stick photos in from time to time. This was a day when I got my nails done. These nails, in fact. you probably can't tell on camera, but they are navy, not black. And I absolutely love this colour. And then after that, I went to Game, which is like the UK equivalent of GameStop. And to be honest, I mostly just went to entertain myself while my other half was buying himself like something. And then I was like, oh, maybe I do want to buy something myself, because they had a Bidoof, and any Pokemon fans will know Bidoof is our Lord and Saviour. Like, we love Bidoof. They also had a Mimikyu, who was very cute, so got myself those. That is not a Pokemon, that is my cat. Just thought I'd make that clear. But yeah, she was having a great time with her new pals there. And not pictured, but I also bought myself some Animal Crossing Lego because it was all on sale. And I was like, I can't resist that. So yeah, that was a nice day, and it was nice to kind of record it in here and add some photos. And yeah, I'm loving how that looks. You can see I do vary up the formatting. Like on that day, yeah, that was happening. And then on this day, like I split it into like a morning and evening entry. That day, I started out with great intentions. Did this little fun little pop-out box from a minor anecdote from my morning. And then I was just like, you know what? Nah, I don't want to write for the rest of the day. It was a lot. So this has made the cousin a lot more usable for me, just allowing myself to have these days where I'm like, no, we don't want to journal today. We want to play Stardew Valley and forget that the outside world exists. And that's fine. So yeah, that is how I'm going to use the cousin. I'm going to move swiftly on now to the A5 notebook. If you do have any questions though about how I'm using the cousin, please do feel free to leave them in the comments. Alrighty, time to show you this beauty. So this is kind of like my supplementary notebook, which I'm going to use for commonplacing and for days when the page in the cousin just isn't enough and I want to write more. This is like the overflow book. I only very recently set this up, so there's not that much to show you, but I'll give it a go. So one thing to note is I'm using margins here, which I didn't used to do, but I actually think they're going to come in quite handy. This is inspired by Megan Rhiannon, Queen of Commonplacing. She uses margins, and I was inspired by that because I think it is useful for just leaving like little notes to yourself about the content. So you can see here, I took some notes on a YouTube video about dopamine. In the sidebar there, I have like written a question to myself about like, are these tips about getting a better, healthier dopamine situation going on? Like, are they actually relevant if you have ADHD? Because that impacts dopamine. Also, just a note about the advice given in that video and like how perhaps don't take it too far, like that kind of thing. So yeah, the margins are coming in handy. What I tend to do is also do a bit of decor in the margin to kind of represent what this is. So for the TBR list here, got some books. I think that's from Mary Berry Studios. And then here I've got like little emoji with a film like clipper thing. What are they called? Oh, and then I've got like another here, just so I know when I'm like flicking through, like what is this? What is this basically? That is really all I've got in here so far. I only started this very recently, but I just wanted a place for notes. Previously I was doing that in the cousin and I was journaling elsewhere, but I decided to swap it around just because commonplacing feels more natural to me when it's in just a plain grid notebook without dates and stuff. Like, I don't know, it just felt better to have that there and to have dated journal entries in the dated book. So yeah, that's how I'm going to use this. I am just going to use it as and when I need to. How much I commonplace really depends on how much I'm reading, how much I'm watching things. Because I'm not really reading right now, there's no book notes yet, although I do have some to add for Cuddy by Benjamin Myers, which I'm reading right now. I might check in with this in future videos just to show you how it's going, because this is really very minimal. After such a long explanation of the cousin, this feels like such an anticlimax. But yeah, it's just early days. If, by the way, you're not sure what commonplacing is, because I've like thrown that term around and not really explained it, I have a whole video on that, which I'll link in the description. But like, short version is basically copied text. So taking notes on a book, quotes, anything that you didn't create that you want to record, I guess. It's also a very personal practice and different people interpret it in different ways. But yeah, that's kind of my interpretation of it. At this point, I'm just rambling. So I'll move on to the two kind of like supplementary books that aren't full parts of my journal system, but I'm going to use them just in various different ways. I'll go and grab those. So, supplementary book number 1 is this Hobonichi memo pad, which I just use to take notes at work. Like if I'm in a meeting and there's something I want to remember, I just take notes in here. Not going to show you the inside because it has my work stuff in it. I will show you the outside though, obviously. I'm currently doing that, mostly for this beautiful sticker that I got from Alex Thomas Creative, who has a YouTube channel, which I will link. And they just create beautiful art and beautiful journal pages. So shout out to you, Alex. I loved this plan sticker so much that I put it on the front of the notebook that I truly look at and use every day because I wanted to appreciate this every day. So yeah, that's that. And then a new thing that I'm going to start and haven't started yet is a kind of like ADHD notebook to-do list thing. This is directly inspired by Helen from the Coffee Monsters Co. And I'll see if I can find a specific video or videos where she talks about this. But she has like a little to-do list notebook, which is set up in a way that really helps her ADHD brain. And I would like to give it a try. It's basically like a rolling to-do list, but it's also split into chunks in like a way that's really manageable and doesn't like stress out the brain. I haven't started this yet. I will probably start tomorrow. I'm going to do it in here in this like freebie Hobonichi grid notebook that we got with our 2025 orders, and we'll see how it goes. I probably won't show it too much again because it's going to mostly just have my work tasks in it, but I can at least report back on how that system works for me. Okay, so that is the end of the video and the final stack. I'm really excited going into 2025. I think this is going to be a really great system for me because it's that beautiful Hobonichi aesthetic that I love so much, and I feel like I've finally found a way to tailor each type of notebook to exactly what I need, and that feels great. Like I just feel so happy and motivated to fill these notebooks. So that is that. If you have any questions about this system or any of the books I'm using, please do leave them in the comments. Also feel free to comment with what you're using for 2025 if you've decided. Thank you for watching if you've made it to the end, and I will see you when I next see you.